You're watching Sunday Sound Off with Frank Boal.
Welcome back to Sunday Sound Off. Our first hot topic of the night. Would you trade Alcides Escobar before tomorrow's trade deadline and let Mondesi take over at shortstop, or maybe even trade him during the offseason? See what you could get. TJ.
Well, I mean, when you're getting blockbuster trades like Billy Burns for Brett Eibner, I mean, do you really need anything else? No. I like everything about Raul Mondesi, including his soul glow haircut and his gold chain. I think he's got that. He's straight out of the 70s, man. I like it. He's aggressive on the base paths, and I think you don't know exactly what he is. There's a lot of promise there. You know what Alcides Escobar is. You know that he's not a great leadoff hitter that hits leadoff for some reason. You know that he's a very good defensive shortstop, and while you don't want to lose that, I think that the future for him, we talk about maxing players out, what's their potential. I think Escobar has reached his maxed out potential. So I think you know exactly what he is, and he's limited. I don't see what he is being able to help this team moving forward. I think there's a lot of promise there with Raul Mondesi. So trade Escobar and see what you can get.
Mark says sometimes when you look at this, you think about the clubhouse. You know, what would, okay, all of a sudden they dump Escobar. There he goes. And, you know, he's one of the guys that helped him there in 2014, 2015. What kind of impact would something like that have on the clubhouse?
Well, I don't think at this point it really matters in that clubhouse. And the reason I say that is that, you know, where they're at in the course of the season and in the standings at this point, every single one of those guys outside of, a select few at this point are probably looking over their shoulder a little bit, knowing that they could be part of a deal and be moved. So I think that at this point, you kind of look at all your options, and if you get a good deal out there that you feel is right for your team moving forward, you do it. You know, the glaring piece right now is Mondesi's playing second base, right? Then who goes back to playing second base? Merrifield comes back up. What else do they do long-term at second base? So the Royals have a ton of needs right now, and mainly looking into 2017, 2018, especially with trying to sign guys like Hosmer and stuff long term. So I think you got to look at pretty much all of your options at this point, and I'd certainly be listening.
Yeah, right. And they couldn't move Cuthbert to second base because Moose will be back next season. Saran, what do you think?
Well, look, I don't think Cuthbert's the answer at second base. I don't think Whit Merrifield's the answer at second base. I think for the Royals, Raul Mondesi is the answer at second base. I think he's playing exactly where they want him to play next year, and then I think 2018 he takes over at shortstop. Look, the Wade Davis thing kind of dovetails into this, and where is Jason Vargas and his rehab, and how much money do they have to spend next year to try to fill this roster back out and make one more push next year? I think right now Mondesi is their answer, and I think they would listen to people throwing offers at him for Alcides Escobar. But, I thought one of the tweets was right. Who'd take him? I mean, what are we talking about getting for Alcides Escobar? TJ's right. He's maxed his value, but I think everybody in baseball knows that. I think you're looking at your middle infield for 2017 right now.
Here's our second hot topic of the evening as we shift gears to the Chiefs. Chiefs signed Eric Fisher to an extension. They didn't sign Eric Berry to that long-term deal. Will that cause a problem in the Chiefs locker room? Talked about that a little bit with the Royals, with having that inner sanctum in there. Everybody loves Eric Berry. What do you think, Mark?
Well, everybody loves Eric Berry, but this is an interesting deal, and this kind of came to fruition yesterday when I saw it. They're going to pay Eric Fisher $12 million next year anyway because they picked up his fifth-year option. So basically, they're extending, obviously, his deal out and extending, the years and obviously the money. The guaranteed money is a big deal. Where this plays into Eric Berry and how it factors into the locker room, I don't think you really can compare the two to a certain extent. Eric Fisher plays a position in the NFL, left tackle, that's a marquee position. Safety in the National Football League is not a marquee position. I love Eric Berry just as much as the next person probably does, but at the same time, I think he's a descending player. And I don't think you pay, in a long-term deal for Eric Berry the type of money that he wants right now for a guy that's going to play free safety for you. He's an up-in-the-box type of player. He's a liability in coverage a little bit for that up-in-the-box type of guy to garner that kind of money. So, I think it's an interesting dynamic. I'm sure there's some guys in that locker room kind of looking at it and wondering, okay, what's going to happen with Eric Berry here in the future. There's some guys that probably said they just gave Eric Fisher's money to Eric Berry. But at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to cause a rift at all. It is a business. Guys in that locker room understand it's a business, and I think everything will be fine at the end of the day.
Saran?
This is simply physics and supply and demand. The physics is there are only a handful of people that are 6 feet 7 inches tall and 300-plus pounds and can move. That is the left tackle position. There are just not that many human beings that have the kind of size and the athleticism it takes to play that position. There are many, many 5'11", 205, 210-pound human beings on this planet. It is easier to replace a safety than it is replace a left tackle. That is simply the physics. That is the supply and the demand. There are fewer in the left tackle position to supply, and you have to lock them up when you've got them. I think this deal is a pretty team-friendly deal. He's not the highest-paid left tackle in football, not even close. Where Eric Berry's asking to be the highest-paid safety in football, as we've talked about many times here. He doesn't turn the football over. I don't know how you can be the highest-paid safety when you don't create turnovers the way an Ed Reed did, the way a Troy Polamalu did, some of the guys that he was being compared to when he first came out of the draft.
TJ, I know you never took physics or economics anywhere. What are your thoughts about this?
Well, you hear J.J. Watt today. J.J. Watt said he's for DeAndre Hopkins, who's in a holdout currently in his situation. Players love it when other players get money. So regardless of who it is, they're happy for that guy. So this is not going to cause a rift. I do think that the Chiefs' move is peculiar, for lack of a better word, because they had Eric Fisher for 2 years for $15.3 million. They're choosing to pay him $26.4 before March of next year. Explain that to me. I don't understand that. And Soren's point's well taken. There are only a certain amount of guys who are that big and can move, and there is a thinking in the NFL right now that those types of players coming out of college don't know what the heck they're doing, and there are far and few between guys who can play at this level, more and more so with the rule changes and the things happening at the college level. He may end up, though, being the Alex Smith of left tackles. Do you want to pay that guy? I don't.
Okay, and here's the other thing about Eric Fisher. Ever since he got out of school, he went to the Mac school. He has gotten better every year. I mean, it might not be Pro Football Hall of Fame better, but he has gotten better every year. So he's still an ascending player, which is tough in the National Football League to get better and better and better as you move on from that position. That's what they're paying him for, I think. And our final hot topic, what are the Chiefs' biggest question marks at training camp? Soren.
Look, there are a lot of them. I think in reality we're going to settle on, for me anyway, it's can they get to the quarterback on defense. Their defense is their strength. They have the number 27 offense last year. TJ's point about Alex Smith is a good one. He is what he is, a game manager, and he's not going to suddenly break out of that mold. So, you can look for the offense to get better. They've improved the offensive line. They've given him more weapons. So I expect, and we get Jamal Charles back, that's going to help as well. So I expect the offense to be better. But at the end of the day, the defense is going to carry the freight. That means Dee Ford, for as long as he's in there for Justin Houston, has to be able to get to the quarterback. I think that's the biggest question. Can they still get after the passer on defense to make sure that this is a top 10 defense? Because it needs to be a top 10 defense to carry this offense to a division championship, and a division that's at least open this year before the Raiders, I think, maybe stake claim to it in the future.
TJ?
Now with Soren, on the defensive side of the ball, they need some help. And I think there's a lot of inexperience on the backside, too, that's really going to cause some problems for them. They've thrown numbers at it in the draft over the last couple of years, so that helps. But you hope somebody emerges. I think Kavari Russell could emerge as one of those guys, but we'll have to wait and see. Philip Gaines has been out since the Green Bay game of last year. He seems like a changed player, but we've seen him in very limited roles so far at training camp. They need answers not only at the corner positions, but also at the safety position as well, because they lost a lot of guys there in the offseason.
Mark, you get a final word here.
Oh, I'll just echo what the other guys are saying, I guess, at this point, because I believe the same thing. Can they get to the quarterback? Where's the pass rush going to come from? That's right now until Justin Houston is back. They gave Tamba Hali a bunch more money in the offseason for a guy that's an aging player that only practiced essentially once a week last year. There's a lot of question marks on offense, and they've obviously addressed those on the offensive line and trying to add a few more weapons in the receiving core as well. But the other big question mark to me is how is that young secondary going to hold up? With Philip Gaines coming off injury, Steven Nelson barely saw the field a year ago and couldn't get on it. Obviously, Marcus Peters had his Rookie of the Year piece, but who steps up and replaces Sean Smith? And then within the numbers and the depth, as TJ mentioned, who's going to be the guy that steps up and actually becomes a contributor to this defense?
All right, we've got a long way to go before opening day, September 11th at home against San Diego Chargers, but it's going to be here before you know it. It's incredible. In fact, this is the last Sunday without pro football. Think about that for a little while. Yeah, good. We're going to have a good time. When we come back, these guys will have a final say on what's on their minds. Coming up a little bit later, will be Graham.